right. Okay?
Yep.
My name's Yuddhisthira Das. I'm a resident here at New Vrindavan. And the place that we now are standing is a attempt, or you could say an experiment, in simple living and high thinking. I took a wild piece of land that was forested and undeveloped. And over the past 16 years, myself and my wife have been working to tame the forest, you could say, and become productive here. And so we cleared the land, we built our home, still under construction, and developing different areas here according to the biodiversity that is in existence here. It's a very biodiverse area. And so we have some agricultural areas, we got fruit orchards and nuts, we have pasturing grounds and a couple of animals now. We have an ox and a donkey, and we have a beautiful temple site. And we want to make a nice Krishna Balaram temple here, and we'll take a little walk, and I'll show you the general layout of the property and some of the features thereof. So let's take our hike. Okay, here's our house. We constructed this out of like recycled parts, you know, and although we did buy, you know, some things like the new windows and the siding and the roof, but it's basically all recycled. All the structures here are sort of like prasadam from New Vrindavan. They're buildings that I disassembled that were being, you know, unused, and I brought them here and reassembled them in different shapes. So this site was once the settler's cabin of a man named Ewing, who settled this point of land somewhere around 1800. And he was the first mill operator in this Wheeling Valley. And so this was his homestead. It happened that one day I was just out in the woods walking. I came up this ravine down here, and I found this spring. And then I kind of belly crawled up over this knob here, and I found a few stones protruding from the earth. And I could see there was an old cellar hole there at one, and it was all collapsed and trees growing out of it. Well, it ended up I was able to purchase this land from New Vrindavan, 20 acres or so, and I began to rebuild the old foundation. All the stones you see here are stones from the original settler's cabin. I dug out the basement. If you want, you can come in and just see this real quick. If your camera can pick any of this up. This is a sunroom that we're putting in right now. It isn't completed. So this is the entry into the actual pioneer basement. These rocks were all in a disarray. I dug it back out. And some of these stones I didn't mortar, and I left them. And this is a new basement I just completed. This is a root cellar, and I built a well in the basement of it down there, and that's all carved out of sandstone ledge. This is all carved right out of the ledge. You can see this is like sandstone formation here, see? And this is just, but it was chippable, you know, I chipped this.
So you carved it.
I carved this out. You know, if you come down here, if you got your light, you can see it better. This is just a little, very, it's all built with heavy-duty locust timbers with a locust roof, and I just carved out like niches here and there, and you can see I'm just getting ready to build shelves in here. And this is where we're going to be storing a lot of our, you know, produce, canned goods and stuff like that.
So you use the limestone to make the mortar?
It's actually sand and clay mixture. This is all sedimentary rock in this area. So it's layers, okay? And it's layers of sand, shale, There'd be sandstone. We have a big sandstone formation. We're going to be seeing this real soon. And we have limestone formation as well. But we also have clay. And this sand and clay mixed together, which was just at this level, happened to make this really good mortar. I was an Indian village right here. See, our property sits on a point. Actually, we call it Prabhupada's Point. Okay, and there's a village here. Not only the recent woodland Indians, but the ancient Adinas, the mound builders, they had a village here. And I found a lot of artifacts here. Here's a little stone axe. You see how that was taken so they could put that in a axe configuration like that. There is these things that are called hammer stones. These have little holes for your fingers to go in. See, here's a good example. You can see there's a hole here, there's a hole there, and there, so you can put your hand right in there such a way, and you can use it for, you know, whatever purpose they had. And this is a grinding. This is made out of granite, which is not found in this area. They had to travel great distance to find the granite. But you can see how the original rock was like just, you know, chipped away to make it a very nice surface here. You can see how this little groove in there is very good for the grinding process. This is a very interesting piece here. This is an ancient, I don't know how old. It looks like an Indian a carving of an Indian. This was the keystone of this pioneer cabin that was on New Vrindavan property. They wanted it out of there to expand their parking lot. So this was an original pioneer cabin, the only one left in this area. So I disassembled this, and this was the keystone in the fireplace. And this is a carving of unknown origin. Also, there's a lot of these kind of stones here that have these interesting holes in them for purposes unknown to me. Here's kind of like what we call a cup stone. There's many of these of different types, but this has a perfectly round hole in it. You can see the redness here indicating fire had been on this. So whether it was used to burn incense or what the purpose was is really still a mystery. And we also have like some petrified wood that is found in this area. Here's a piece here. And I have a nice piece that was used by the Indians. This is petrified wood. You can see the grain of the wood there. And they took and smoothed this bottom part, and they would hold it thusly and use that for their grinding apparatus. Just wanted to show you a few of these artifacts. This is one of the garden areas over here, if you can see. These are blackberries and raspberries in this area. This is an orchard with some apple trees and some other kinds of fruits in here. In the upper level is a regular garden here. There's a watermelon I didn't know was here. Yeah, this was the watermelon patch. See, I have a contract with the temple to produce some vegetables. So I grew a lot of tomatoes, watermelons, cabbages over here. And I've been, you know, selling them kind of like a bulk price, you know, to the temple. And this is our little greenhouse over here. Yeah, if you want to, this is Bodhi the yacht.
Boda?
Bodhi.
Bodhi.
Yeah, this is Bodhi. He's an Afghan donkey, the kind they use at the Grand Canyon to take people on the trail on the canyon. And he's here. He was kind of like a rescued animal, and we're hoping to employ him in the trail system that we're building around this whole valley. we're trying to open the area up to visitors who want to see a side of New Vrindavan that is rarely understood here. People that come to New Vrindavan usually just see the palace and the compound, but actually New Vrindavan is a very large place, and we want to let people realize how wonderful it really is here. Krishna has given us incredible gifts of nature that we need to discover how to use properly. So the whole concept, of course, is trying to use animal power ultimately. And so this is an attempt to head in that direction. This here is Veda, the ox. He's a really good boy. He's a big feller. Here, Veda, over here. There's a good fella. What's the matter, Veda? Okay, you shine a little bit in these canning jars in our little guest area here. These here are the old type canning jars, okay, with the bales and the rubber rings. I've had these jars for like 30 some years at least, and I'm still using them. This is tomatoes. This is the regular type of canning jar here with the dome lids, and that's green beans. Now we can, okay, this is one of the water tanks on the property that is spring fed. Okay, this feeds the entire complex, and that's a pump hooked up to one of the caretaker houses up above. But this is the storage tank in there. Stainless steel. These are maple trees in here. If you look down there, that's where I have been boiling maple syrup, in that building there. And these are maple trees, okay? If you look at these trees, you can see these are the sugar maples. And we have a lot of them on the property. And I'm trying to hopefully to get some good equipment and really be able to produce a lot of maple syrup. I've only made a little bit just to say I was doing it, but I've started to do a bunch of things, just to get it rolling. But we really need to upgrade and really get the thing happening. And we'll have like a 4-seasonal farm here where all year around we'll be producing. Okay, like in the winter time we have our wood shop. We're going to be making things there. We have our own sawmill here now. It's a wood miser. I can show you that. We have our own timber we cut. We have tulip poplar and some other species that we're sawing up and utilizing in our building projects. Okay, so that's also going to be used in wood shop projects. So these are all things that we've been getting ready to do, and we're right on the point now with a little help from our friends, with some support and some volunteer action. We can really put this place together for real. So this is the goal. Now we're at this level where the sandstone formation is. If you look, you can see the rock ledge. I uncovered this. It was like under the dirt. And I found that right here there was this natural staircase. So I began excavating, and the stones that I encountered in the excavating I utilized in various configurations. I noticed that all of a sudden the rock ledge became vertical right here, and so I began to excavate out this here tunnel. Okay, and then I made a roof over it with locust logs, and then put a membrane, tin, and what have you on the roof to keep it waterproof. And all the stones that I took out I used in the building of the walls. But this is like a lower entryway to this structure that you see above us right here. Would you like
Yeah.
work in there? Okay, let's go ahead in and take a movie as you go in. I'll be up with the picture. Yeah, this is the lower entryway. It's also like a wind tunnel, aerating the whole underground structures. It helps to keep everything dry. But I just utilized the rocks that I found and added stones where the natural ledge left off. Like for instance, here is the natural ledge, and then I added the stone, see, up, and then put the big locust timbers in, and also added timbers here. You can see there, you know, I bridged across this narrow gap in the rock and made like an entry into the tunnel. And this was a natural staircase I encountered on this side, which goes up to the next level. Because you see, what I did was after building this, let's go up and I'll show you upstairs. You can actually, yeah, if you can step right up. This is kind of a narrow little walkway there. And here we have the Chevy van, see? This is, I dragged in and I placed it right here up against the rock ledge. This is, I use this for like a germinating area for plants. I can put a kerosene heater in there and I germinate and get my flats started here. And then I place them out in the greenhouse, which I constructed around this van. And I used very strong construction methods. Okay, hop up there. Got it? Okay. Okay, this is the van and camper arrangement. And this is actually built for making into a earth-sheltered like bunker. Okay, I built super strong construction, heavy gauge tin on the roof, so that dirt can be placed on the roof and even on the sides, and it could be like put underground if need be, completely or partially. But come on in here, I'll show you the situation. Here is a storage area. Okay, this is like food, you know, stored, and a water tank. This is the camper. And this is, if you'd like, yeah, this is all got post and beam construction surrounding the trailer and above in the trailer. This is all, you know, cocooned in here. And this is the camper. A little living space here. If you look out here, this is the greenhouse addition. This is also built with 2x10s so that, you know, you can put the heavy gauge tin over this, and you can actually put this whole structure under the dirt from behind. I have a road up and back where I can just bring this is the other. Okay,
oh my God!
The other end of the tunnel that we were looking at just a
oh yeah, right.
ago. And if you look in here, you can see this is this king post. This is a locust post about 20 feet tall, and it's forming the main timber upon which this whole construction is kind of like based on. And I used nature's rocks here, and then added stones and made walls. So I didn't have to actually purchase anything. Now this is a big tank that I put in here with the help of my good friend Pavana. you might know Pav.
I know.
Him and I worked in conjunction together to put this in. This is a 30-foot long tank here. This is meant to be a, what I have figured out to use as a candle shop, because they don't burn down. Steel tanks stay steel tanks. So candle factory would be here. And then if you turn around, you'll see right next door we have this rock construction using the big logs, the locust logs, as I showed you before. This is the bakery, and this is all wood-fired in here. These are all steps going in. Stand right there. This is undone, of course, but this is a big rock room that I dug out. And then I put big trees, you know, for the roof up there. And down below us, I can show you, if you just allow me. I'll come around this way, and you can see maybe this big, it was a wood stove. What I did was I dug out underneath this big rock monolith here, and I made a tunnel out through. And then I brought in this really heavy-duty stove, which I converted into a oven, and I built a brick firebox down below, and then I put this water jacket. This is stainless steel here. This is for heating water. Our gravity feed water system, see, it comes through here, and it's hooking up all the rocks to water supplies. This is a small version of what I just showed you here. This has got the oven up in the top, you know, and the firebox below. This is all wood fired. And over here, if you look upward, you can see the end of a big tank up there. You see that? I have like 4 big tanks at this upper level. This is for the storage of grains. And it's not completed, of course, but eventually there'll be chutes. And this way this stone is configured right here, I'm going to put my flour mill right down in here, see? And it's going to just like bring the grains right into the hopper down there. And I can mill up the flour. And then this area would be used for the preparation area. And this is kind of like a stone bakery here. The table area. This was encountered in the dig. It took me like several months to dig this out. Okay. I know. You think I'm pretty whacked, but anyways, this is,
no, I think it's a very ambitious project.
This is what I do. I can't help it. Okay, then we're coming up over through this little kind of like natural porthole, you could say, and you will be able to see this main area here. This is a multi-purpose area. If you can see down in this lower area there, I've dug that out, and I have intentions of making this the wood-fired pottery kiln down in here. I just have a barrel there just for no particular reason, but I hope to design somehow a pottery kiln here. And I used these like petrified locust trees that were dead, standing for like 100 years or what have you. You can see these are the entire tree, and they are like steel. Those things are so hard that sparks fly off your chainsaw when you cut them. I'm not lying. And I took trees that I cut, you see, and if you look up here, you can see that's all a big locust 30-some feet long. I got into place. I did this by myself. Don't ask me how. I don't really know. It just kind of happened. But I took and drilled holes in the rock up there, and I put inch rebar, and so everything is pinned right into the rock, see, and it's holding this whole structure. Okay, in this area here, I dug out the rock in this crack, okay, and I used all the rocks right here to make this hearth. This is where I have my canning operations, okay, over the fire. I just put a big cooking pot right in there, and all the smoke goes right up yonder, you see? And we also use this area as a summer temple. You can look over this way. This was like a stone little altar. This was a giant rock that was up there on that upper level, up there. And I took and come along the thing off of this lip up there. It was actually twice as thick as this. What you see down there is the other half of it. When it hit the ground, it split right up the middle and dropped over, and I was able to like take hydraulic jacks and just jack her up, put some shimrock underneath, see? And it turned into a little altar.
It's beautiful.
It's rustic.
It's rustic, yeah. Rustically beautiful.
Here is my...
This is a chair from the old restaurant.
Yep.
I recognize these.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of prasad.
Yeah.
Actually, that Vyasasana is Prabhupada's original one that he sat on Bahulaban in, like, the early days.
Wow.
That's the original Vyasasana there. Here is a rejected mold of Prabhupada's feet. When they made the first, mold of his feet here at New Vrindavan, they used the bronze. This is very heavy. See that?
Yeah.
And I kind of salvaged that from the junk pile. It's kind of like a nice keepsake.
Absolutely.
Over here we have canning jars. I've been some for the canning goods that I've been making here on the fire. I'll show you over here. This is the kitchen part. Right here, I have this hooked up to, the spring water. And, of course, the season's over. It's kind of a mess right now. Sorry about that. But I just used the rocks to, build into here. If you look up there, you can see this stump. That was a tree that was growing there. And I actually used it to make this big boom to help bringing these big logs into place here, you see. If you look over here, you can see the logs. I notched it out and I drilled and I put these big steel rebars in there. See that? To pin this together. So they're kind of in there pretty good. And if you look at this end, you're going to look out through here, and there's a natural crack in the rock that goes up to the next level up there. That's my little community center I built. It's sort of a cow barn / community center. We have many purposes for our activities, but so here's our area of cooking. We have little gatherings here too,
Yeah.
If we walk through this way, we can see I've got a cold storage area right here. This area is all meant for storage of supplies, okay? We have a tank I put in underneath this whole rock mason. You'll need your light in here. This is under construction, just like everything else around here, but I'll just give you a view of what I did get done. If you look up here, you can see it. I dug out this crack here, and this I want to use as like a grain storage bin and put a big bulkhead door in this area so I can like lift a chute and bring grains in. So I don't have, I put a big roof of locust on top, and it's like a large area for storage. And this area is all built into the rock. I used big logs, as you can see, locust, oak. And if you come over here, you will see there's a natural crack in the rock. If you want, you can just go right out through there. You can see I made a tunnel. And this also has a locust roof. If you look up, you can see. I have been wiring it for electric, but it's not all done. It's just kind of in there. But if you want, you can go out that way, and you'll come to the stable. Gets a little narrow up there. You might have to go sideways. You got it. There you go. Now we're coming out in the stable area. This is where the granary is. This is the opening. I've got this rock ledge that was here I used for the floor. This is all the big grain storage area. This is the stable area out here. Want to take a gander? This is where Bodhi and the ox hang out. There's their manger. Okay, and I have a hay drop from above, so we can go back. Yeah, I just built this door and drilled a hole in the rock ledge, so you can just do that and hook that baby up. I put this box in here. I'm trying to get her hooked up to electric. It ain't ready yet. And if you come out this way, this enters out into the this is where they eat out here as well. They have an outdoor area. If you look, you can see the hay drop. That's where I put my hay, and I drop it right down here, throw it into that manger or this one, and it's very convenient. It's all done with a pitchfork. And this is the rock ledge leading up to this level. Then up here I built this little kind of like amphitheater, okay? This was kind of carved out of the natural rock. But where the rock leaves off, it turns like to a clay level up above. So I really built that upper level all out of clay. And there's a seating arrangement for like 100 people right here. This here is like our hay barn in the winter and mountain stage in the summer, okay? This is, you can't really see it too good, but this is the top of the rock ledge. It made a natural floor here, and I just built this building all out of like recycled wood and logs that I cut from the woods. It cost no money, and I put a little loft in up here. And we have a little staircase going up there, and it's like room for people to like have a little respite if they're visiting here. Here's some more of the canning jars. Okay, this is the paste tomatoes that I've been growing for the temple, and I make my own sauce down on the open wood fire, and I can everything right out there. I've been trying to develop the idea of doing it simply, so I've been like experimenting with some success, you know. Actually, I didn't lose too many of them. It's hard to keep clean out there with the wood and all, but I did feel good that I got some canning done, and it's a beginning.
How many cans do you think you have of tomatoes?
Oh, I did like 100 total.
Mm.
That was like the seconds from the temple. They only wanted like the perfect ones. Mm-hmm. They make a lot of sauces up at the temple. Unbelievable amounts. All the tomatoes I brought in, they just used them. because, you know, for morning khichdi, they always like to have a nice tomato sauce to go with it. And those Amish paste tomatoes that I grew, they were so perfect for the whole program. I mean, they were prolific and durable and, you know, disease-free for the most part. I was really, really happy. Next year, we're going to double up and make twice as many. I had like 200 plants. I took in like maybe 35, 40 bushels from that patch that I had. Then the seconds I canned up for like sauce. Okay. I'll just kind of sit here like I'm watching the show. All right, then. Bring on the dancing girls. No, I'm just kidding.
We're going to have some dancing girls and hillbilly music.
Great then. Okay, we'll just, I've been a logger and a firewood guy since...
Supply the temple?
Yeah, I've been the firewood guy for the temple. This is the first year I'm not doing it. Okay, but I've been, you know, taking care of their wood needs up there and some of the local residents too. But now, this year, I'm just taking care of my own needs. I'm trying to concentrate more here. If you look down here, we'll take a view from down below, but this was a rock formation. You can see the rocks down there, the natural rock, okay? And it's sandstone, so it's in layers. And what I did was I just broke off the layers and broke the stones into usable size. And I erected this whole 10 by 16 room just from the rocks that I uncovered from right here. I went nowhere. Come on down, I'll show you. I actually hooked into the spring down here. This is the old Indian spring. This original basin still exists where the Indians got their water down here.
What was the name of the tribe?
You know, I'm not rightly sure.
But there was like
many
two tribes. One ancient and one not so ancient.
Yeah, the ancient ones were the Adena, they called.
Uh-huh. They're the ones that built the mounds?
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have the Fagawi Indians. Okay, they were named because the first white people that came through the area ran into a band of these Indians in the woods, and they said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're the Fagawi. We're the Fagawi." And they said, "You're the Fagawi Indians?" And they kept saying, "We're the Fagawi," but it turned out they were just saying, "We're the
Fagawi."
Yeah. Anyway, here's the little room down here.
And this is a spring?
The spring that I hit right here in the corner, I have it piped out underground.
Oh, wow.
So this is kind of like going to be a root cellar / Springhouse, you see. I'm building a little tool shed over the top here, but I just wanted to show you, just by taking the rock and splitting off the stones and then going up the rest of the way with them, I was able to actually build this whole place, and I never had to go get anything. Now, what I'm going to do is the same thing I did in the other places. At this lower level, which is sandy and clay-like, okay, see, where the stone leaves off, the clay begins, you see. This is actually a layer of blue clay, you see that? We have the red clay in other places. But then you take and you kind of mix with the sandy, okay, there's sand, that mixes together sort of like this, and it makes the mortar for your rocks, you see, from the very site. Just so you know. It works out. It's very interesting. You see, this clay, like that, see it? It's very clayey, and there's just a nice little mix, you see. It goes right in there. You just kind of press it right in, and there it is. I had a little roof over it just for protective purposes. You can see how the water's coming right out of the rock formation there, and dripping down.
That's just gorgeous.
You can see how the rocks are, and then see what I did was I just started digging in to the rock shelf right here. This is where I started. See, here's where the rocks are. And I just started splitting them off. Okay, and the rubble stone I just left out here to berm up around this massive rock wall. And it just happened. It was just totally natural. I just tapped into the spring where it comes right out of the ledge, and I'm piping it right over here. If you look in here, actually the old Pioneer Springhouse, these are some of the stones that I found that I utilized to build this house. And I've got a tank in there. I have a water pump actually in there. This is the overflow that you see. And that's my simple water system. I just pump it up. This is my neighbor's spring house. It's under construction right now. He built his house just down below the level of the spring down there, so he can get gravity feed water right into his house. But he also has a pump to get the pressure that he needs to run his shower, etc. But it will run into his house right to his faucet without any electricity. That was what he did. Let's go on. We'll take a look over here. We're coming to the Temple Hill over in this direction. That's a water storage tank. There's a few thousand gallon, and gravity runs water into the top for storage purposes, for getting drinking water and emergency water. So now we're going to go. Okay, welcome to Prabhupada's Point. This is the beginnings of the temple complex that I'm excavating this out of the rock ledge here and adding the stones. Okay, you can see where the original ledge leaves off. And I just encountered many stones in the digging out of the structure and built the walls. Added the logs from the forest. These are all locust posts, and they were split out all by hand. And I erected a temporary roof. Actually, the barn's going to be like a 3-level barn. Okay. And this lower level is for the manure. There's a road that comes right around, and you can see the overhang right there. That's where you would dump your manure into the wagon, and the cows would live on the upper level there, and the hay is on the 3rd level up. So it's all designed to be utilized with animal power, okay? The hay comes in on the upper level, is thrown by hand into the mow. It's fed onto the 2nd level, and we're going to take a little walk up here and take a closer look. This is actually going to be the walkway for the animals to walk up into the barn. This is just all stone. It's covered with leaves, of course, but this is a stone walkway. Now we come over here. If you look in here, this is a natural crack in the rock, and I excavated it out, and I'm building a room in there. And if you look up above, you'll see this upper level is going to be where the granary is, okay? And there's these natural cracks in the rock there. And that's where the grains will be coming down, and they'll be mixed at this next level up there, and then sent down into the hopper for grinding into cow feed. Okay, and I got a grain storage area. We'll take a little walk around here. See, again, all the levels of rock you can see can be split. This is a piece here. that was protruding up onto the floor level too much. So I took bars and I just broke off this massive chunk, see? And with crowbars, I was able to push it on out. So now it's a nice area to bring out your manure, and here's the level of your wagon, see? Here's another example. This was a big piece also that I broke out of the ledge. And if you look here, you can see how I just carved out these little notches, almost like flutes on an arrowhead, you know? And I could put my bar right down in there, and I could steer and drive this thing, and I just pushed it in such a way it makes a nice sloping entry for the animals to come up in here. And this is a manger that was built right in the rock. That's where, again, this is a temporary roof up here, but I'm happy to report that these timbers we sawed from the very trees on the site on our own mill. And this is the first actual construction project from our own trees, our own mill, all homegrown. No cash outlay except for the hangers and some nails. Over here was a natural walkway that I dug out. And when I came into this area, I encountered this old axe head. And it was just laying right on this stone, just as if the original owner here had just placed it right there and either walked away and forgot it, but it's been sitting there since, you know, a couple hundred years. So I just left it right there as kind of like a little, you know, you could say sign of respect for the ancestors. But then up here I made these steps. These are kind of like hidden by the, but this brings us up to the hay level up here, you see? And I'll show you where the granary is going to be. Right up here. You can walk right up there. Okay, everything is covered over, but you see there's a crack right here. And that will be to feed in like oats. Over on this side there's another crack. It comes in like a perfect 45. And for that will be corn. And then where I'm sitting is going to be a third bin that drops right down, if you can see. There'll be 3 grain bins right here. And then you mix them to the proportions desired for soybeans, corn, and oats. You mix them, and there you have your cow feed. And we can grow all this here on the bottomlands of our little valley here. So this is our goal. This was a big tree that was growing right here. I've yet to take the stump out, but I've got it all dug out. See, it's loose. See that? I got to get it out of here, but this was growing right here. See, this was just a forest. Okay, this is the upper level. If you take and show a shot or something out through that way, you can see there's the road that we came up, and there's my neighbor. His homestead is there. My homestead is over there. There's a third homestead up beyond there, and I'll show you further from a different view. But this is where your hay would be coming in here. So I've got these big posts here, and the roof is going to be sloped right down, if you can understand. The mow for the hay, etc. It's just designed for self-reliance. And that's the goal here, is to try to not depend on modern civilization. If you want to take a look around here, this is the top of the hill. This is where I want to build a temple someday. But you can see, if you pan around, how the configuration here is. If you look, you see the householder arrangements are around like that. And here's the temple. Now, the barn I just showed you down below here, that's going to be Krishna's little Goshala. And it's all designed to have a whole infrastructure to provide the basic necessities of life for the deities and the devotees, okay? And this attempt is designed to try to utilize nature's gifts, of what we have many, and do them for the pleasure of the Lord in the most simple and efficient way possible. And that's our goal here, to try to do this. It's a big order, a tall order, and it takes dedicated people who are really serious to be able to really pull this off. What I've been able to do by myself is kind of pitiful, but
well, it's one man working hard.
But it has to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere with something. So I did what I could. I am doing what I can, and hope that Krishna's sweet will allow us to become successful here for a large number of people ultimately. Here, this is all sand. Okay, I can show you right here. You see? This is nothing but pure sand. You can use it for making concrete. And so these are some of the wonderful things that we can utilize here. I've already showed you the sandstone and how I've applied the sandstone in my building construction projects. But on another level, we have limestone. And this is a different kind of stone. It has a much lighter color, and it comes out of the cliff in these blocks that are perfectly flat on the top and the bottom. And the sides are all sculptured in different ways. It makes a most wonderful building block. And I've excavated with a dozer into these areas where we can access and quarry not only the sandstone but the limestone as well, and build hopefully a temple out of stone and logs on this site. If I ever live to see it, it'd be a darn miracle. But this man's got a dream. What can I tell you? Jeez.
This is the highest point.
It's the highest point on my property. Yeah. And it sticks out into the valley here. It's hard to see behind the trees, but Prabhupada's palace is exactly right there behind those pines. You see him up there? So there's Prabhupada's palace, and here's Prabhupada's point. It's sort of like a little off one corner of it right there. It's hard to tell in the trees. We want to clear some of these trees and have a good view of the...
Yeah, you can see the chatra.
Right. Yeah. So there they are there. Here we are in the woods. And we hope to have a zip line that comes from up there right down to here, and take people on the zip line and teach them natural ways of living, okay, by bringing them in over the canopy of the forest, okay, dropping them in here and then going on a nature hike. Okay, this lower road that you see down below me, it's a line of demarcation between the hardwood sugar maples and the poplars on the left, on the right. This is mainly a poplar stand. Tulip poplars. There are some sycamores mixed in. But I'm thinning out this whole area, and we're utilizing the cull trees in our sawmill, which I'm going to show you next. Let's go this way. I'm going to walk and do it at the same time. We're coming into an area of residential. This is my son's camper here. He's going to be moving here. He's got a camper set up his homestead with, and he's going to build a house at some point. Over here is Janardana's house under construction. These are friendly dogs. Come on. Okay, over here. This is Janardana and Mercy's house, okay? They're homesteaders up here on our little plateau. They have no electricity. They have a propane refrigerator. They use kerosene lighting, okay? They do have a backup generator, but mainly they're without electric. They have a young child, a young lad, about almost 2. And she's hoping to have another child and add to the family. But these are a wonderful couple, and they're very much appreciated that they're here. They're young, in their 20s, and starting out life here. This is the cabin they built, or are building. These siding was manufactured right here on the site from the mill. My other neighbor over here, Phil, he has another sawmill. We have right over in the woods there. We have 2 sawmills up here. I guess you could call this sawmill. This is a home being constructed by Mike and Jamasunya. Mike is a local man that is a carpenter. He came to Krishna consciousness as an adult. He was raised on a dairy farm here in this county. And he is a man with many talents, and we're happy to have him here. He's now almost completed with the construction here. If you pan around to the right, that's my workshop. That's where I assemble chairs, build things, fix things. Can you hear me? This is some used recycled tin. These are going to be put on this building. These are all locust posts that we cut off the property. And we're erecting a building over the top of this wood miser. Come on down. Okay, this is a wood miser, as I said. It's got an extension. You can saw like up to 20 or more feet long pieces of timber. These are some of the poplar trees that we've cut off the property and use them for our sawing. We also sawed up some black walnut and for project wood. This here is a log. This is one of the logs from the old pioneer cabin that I disassembled. And I brought this here to the mill to try and experiment. These are made out of oak, all hand-hewed timbers. So I intend to like reassemble the cabin in a location just over there as a guest house and maybe a intermediate prototype temple before we can get going on the real thing. I'm just going to build a real small one just for the folks that live here to go. And I thought what I would do is like take the mill and saw these timbers into like 2-inch planks. And that way it will give me 2 of these hand-hewed surfaces off of each log. And I can then make like a frame structure with our poplar, okay? And then put these on, and it will be looking like it's a log cabin, but it's really big, thick planks. And then I can insulate and drywall on the inside. So that's the idea I had for utilizing this log cabin. You'll see it. Come down here. See, this is a drive-through area in the center where the lumber is taken from the mill and is put right on the truck, okay, as it is sawed, or it can be placed over here in these racks where you can back a truck up on the lower level and load your lumber right on. So it's all designed for, you know, efficiency and ease of operation. Yeah. I still process wood the old-fashioned way with a P-tunk. This is what we call the P-tunk. It's split maul. This is a 6-pounder, and I make my own handles out of hickory. Okay, these are hickory saplings. They're very strong, very durable. I leave the bark right on them. This is the same wood that I use to make the bentwood hickory rocking chairs. This is what the Amish build. You've probably seen them. But I apprenticed from those guys back in the 70s and learned how to make these chairs and had a business doing that. But we have a shop over here. I have a few that I put together every now and then. But basically, what we do with the wood, you know, we'll drive our, you know, thing in like this, and we'll just like pound her down, you see, until she splits off, see? You know, sometimes, this is a very tough one, but you can see, I usually use a bigger hammer for this, but that's how I get these pieces split off. Hopefully, the better ones, you don't have to pound like that. I just wanted to show you how that's done.